Welcome to All Can, No Can't, the podcast where we toss out excuses, face our fears, and reclaim control. I'm Jeff Luther, your guide to mastering the chaos and turning obstacles into opportunities. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating the ups and the downs of building a successful business, or someone ready to rewrite the rules of your life, this is your space to grow, to push boundaries, and to embrace doing the hard shit that leads to greatness. Together, we'll explore stories of resilience, strategies for overcoming, and the mindset shifts that let you build a life on your terms. I use my experience with a life-altering diagnosis to help you find the can in every can't. So buckle up, because it's time to stop living in can't and start thriving in all can. You choose. Welcome back to All Can, No Can't. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and this is the podcast where we turn obstacles into opportunities. I'm doing a solo episode again today, which is always really fun for me. I enjoy the solo episodes, but I also will admit that I get kind of bored hearing myself talk. So I try to keep these short. I still have a series I'm doing, the 5 lessons I learned from dying, and I think I just finished lesson 2. But I wanted to do something today on a message that a friend sent me earlier this week about happiness. So very few of us can define it clearly. Even I cannot define it clearly. I'm willing to do an episode on it, but certainly don't know exactly what it means to even me, so I can't know what it means to you. So a friend forwarded me, it was a quick clip on Instagram, and the message was about happiness. The specific question was, how happy are you? Like in the little clip, it was like a 15-second clip. And in the little clip, this says, how happy are you? Here's the definition that's helped me kind of strip it down into something raw and real. They say happiness equals your quality of life minus envy. I think we've all heard the saying, comparison is the thief of joy. So I think envy probably lies right there with comparison, particularly this day and age when we're exposed to so many other lives. And when you're choosing to expose your life, you don't always expose the dark, dirty secrets and the things that are sad. It's always happiness, right? So it sounds simple, but sometimes even the simplest math is really hard to apply. So it's like what I always say, it's like running a marathon, right? Running a marathon's simple. You sign up, you pay your fee, and you show up at race day. But it's not easy. There's training that's involved. There's training that goes into just building up to the mileage, let alone trying to run it under a time cap. But in any event, it's simple, certainly not easy. Same thing applies to all of these areas of our life where we're trying to find happiness, where we're trying to block out envy and comparison and keep the bad things out of our brain to make room for the good. And this also sounds like something that I would call really neato, really simple. And when things are good, sometimes that is simple, but when things aren't so great, this might be a whole new animal. Let me tell you why this hits home for me. In June of 2021, most of you know my story. June of 2021, actually, I'll back up. The first week of June of 2021, I ran an ultra. It was my first overnight race. It was a 50K. I came in second place. So I was at just about the top of my game fitness-wise. I could run a sub-6 mile. I could deadlift twice my body weight. I could put my body weight over my head in one movement and was fit. I was crushing it. I was running a lot. I was in great shape. June the 12th of 2021, I dropped dead. I had sudden cardiac death. I dropped dead on a CrossFit gym floor. So in June, I dropped dead. Sudden cardiac arrest. No warning. I was in super good shape and strong, eating clean, eating right. The kind of guy that people didn't expect to see collapse on a gym floor, but I did. Then in July of 2021, after I refused to believe my diagnosis. I refused to slow down. I was refusing to believe that something so fragile could happen to someone that I considered myself to be so strong. I went down again. So that was round 2. The universe really doesn't care about what you believe. I learned that. The universe cares about the truth. And my truth was staring me in the face. July 19, 2021. And then in August of 2021, my wife of 22 years filed for divorce. So people tell me sometimes, you're so open. I'm like, when you've been gutted, you have no choice. You are open. So 3 months, heart stopped again, marriage ended, and there's nothing really left for me but like the essentials. So this is important for me. So I want to talk about just quality of life. You would think that after all I went through and having a second chance and even really a third chance, that I'd have a whole different perspective on quality of life. But envy sneaks in. I learned that. Envy sneaks in and looks like motivation. It hides behind inspiration. Like we see people doing their reels on private planes. It's supposed to inspire us, right? It says to us, and it says to me, look at what they have. I deserve that. I should earn that. I have to work harder. But I'm learning, and I am a work in progress. Oh my goodness, don't be confused, but I'm learning that that's not motivation for me. That's poison for me. And it's very subtle. But I kept comparing when I was on my path back to trying to get my life back together, skipping all the darkness and going to out a few months after it happened to me the second time, and I was in the throes of divorce. I was trying to get my life back together, trying to get my fitness back together, trying to figure out what my boundaries were, and navigating that world. It was a constant comparison for me. But I found new things to compare myself to. I couldn't compare myself to the people I'd worked out with before. Like my son, I couldn't compare myself to my son because he was passing me quickly. I couldn't compare myself to the people that I'd worked out with before. I couldn't compare myself to the other entrepreneurs that I'm in a forum with or that are in my EO chapter. I couldn't compare myself to the people I'd compared myself to before, which would have been safe for me. It would have been healthy for me, but I found ways to compare myself to my previous life, my previous lifts, my previous run times, my previous run distances. That's what I started comparing myself to. And I didn't become ungrateful. I started out ungrateful. I never had gratitude and lost it. I couldn't be grateful because I was bitter about what I could not do. I've got an old Instagram reel that I would really like to take down, but I leave it up there as a reminder to me and as a reminder to others. I was running and I was sarcastic about being prescribed for the day a 1 hour run at a talking pace, and I made fun of it. And honestly, really where I should have been is so grateful that I was able to even run. But I was mimicking the fact that I was running at this really slow pace. It was like 9.5 or 10 minute mile. I don't recall exactly now, but slow for me from what I was used to previously. So that was a challenge for me. That is comparison. That's comparison. It's envy. It is stealing the joy from what I'm able to do. I would compare myself to people after my cardiac arrest. I would compare myself to people that are not fit, looking at them like, how dare they not be fit when they could go out and do what I am not supposed to do, having no idea of what their story was. But that's where I was going. I'd walk on the beach. I was walking on the beach, and I remember this couple walking towards me, holding hands, smiling, laughing. I was going through my divorce, and I remember looking at them and just thinking to myself, how dare you? How dare you walk here in front of me holding hands and happy? And do you have any idea of the pain I'm in? Comparing my life to theirs, comparing what I lost to what they had. And that took away all of my happiness. All of those things that I was making room for left zero room for the happiness that I had right in front of me. Being able to walk on the beach is amazing, and I could not be grateful about it. I couldn't find any happiness about it. Are you feeling stuck? Overwhelmed? It's like you're fighting against something that you can't even see or name. I've been there, literally. I survived sudden cardiac death, and I rebuilt everything. I've mastered the art of controlling the chaos. Now I coach a small group of high performers that are willing to do the work to do the same thing. No fluff, no excuses, we just get results. If you're ready to take back control, apply now at jeffluther.com. This is all can, no can. What I learned in my journey early on is that when we fall, and I fell hard. When we fall, our ego falls, but our ego falls faster and harder than we do. And if we hang on to that, it pulls us down with it. That was the first thing I had to recognize, was letting go of my ego. And to me, that's part of comparison. That's part of envy. And that's what steals happiness. If you start to see envy for what it is, for me, it was an absolute parasite on my peace. And peace is where we can find happiness and joy. Here's the truth. Envy subtracts from everything good that I already had. Looking at what other people had, looking at what other people were doing, looking at other people's exterior, that was taking away my joy. It robbed me of gratitude. Looking at everything that I could not do, and the only way that I knew I could not do those things is by comparing to my previous life or comparing to others. But looking at what I could not do took away the ability to be grateful for what I could do. And it poisons your perspective. It turned what should have been blessings for me into benchmarks, into tick marks, into times, into accomplishments. And sometimes what should have been joy for me became jealousy. And that's a little hard to say. So now when I think about happiness, I don't think about what I'm chasing. And I'll tell you this might resonate with people. I made a conscious effort one day, after talking to several people about this is kind of a vulnerable spot here, but after talking to several people about this, I developed a habit of looking at people's cars, what kind of car they drive, because that started to become like a social status. For some reason, I don't know. I'm not a car person. I'm not into cars. I drive a truck. I'm not into it. But it looked like a social status for me for a while. So now I make a very conscious effort not to look, not to ask, not to discuss, which seems so silly, but it's helpful for me. It's these little baby steps, right? So now when I think about happiness, I don't think about what I'm chasing necessarily, or I try not to. I think about things that I've stopped chasing. I think about things that make me happy. I think about like what I want to lift, and I think about how many workouts I got in for the week, not necessarily what the workout was or what I lifted or what weight I pulled. So that's been very healthy for me on the road to finding happiness. I've stopped chasing comparisons in my running. I don't even know how many times I've reset my Garmin. I reset it it was like 2 months after my incident, or whatever you want to call it. So I started getting all these firsts, like longest run, fastest mile, all this stuff. And at first, I belittled it. I was a little miffed about it. And then it started to become satisfying for me. And I was just comparing myself to myself. I lost a lot of the old data, and getting those notices that I did a first helped me find gratitude. And gratitude was really difficult for me. I stopped trying to keep up. With social, we compare our exterior. We compare other people's exterior to our interior. So what we have, all the mess that I have going on inside of my head, and then I look at other people's exterior that they're posting, and I think, oh my gosh, their life is absolutely amazing. Why are they not dealing with this shit that I'm dealing with in my head? Why is everything so easy for them? But I have stopped assuming someone else's highlight reel is better than my own life. That is a highlight reel. That's ESPN Sports Center at 7 a.m. where they're showing the top 10 plays of the week or whatever that is. I've made it a conscious effort to understand that is a highlight reel. That's the pinnacle. And that's what I do not need to compare myself to. If anything at all, certainly don't compare it to that. Because even after everything for me, everything that I'll say that I lost, like there was no real loss. I lost a lot in the divorce. I can tell you that financially, I was wiped out, zeroed out in a divorce. That made it extremely hard for me, even in my EO forum. These are 5 folks that I share everything with. Like I go to the deep, dark 5% of my life and share it with these folks. I had a hard time sitting in a room knowing that financially my life had changed drastically after the divorce, and that was really hard to do. After losing everything, though, I'm still standing, and I always make the statement, just take a step, the ground will find you. So that's where I am now. Take a step, the ground finds you. And standing now compared to where I was feels almost like the top of the mountain. And I've still got such a long ways to go to get to the top. But being able to just stand has been something that I didn't really recognize or appreciate or acknowledge. So that's part of my path now. I'll encourage all of you, take a minute, run down your own equation. Run down, if you want to talk about happiness, like for example, I was at a party last night, and I can tell you, I'm one of those people. I used to, when I would go to parties or family events or outings or things that are almost obligatory, I didn't do it with such a cheerful spirit. But I went to a party last night. I knew one person. I knew the names of a few other people by recent introduction only. But I knew for certain I was so lucky to be there, and I was so lucky to be invited, and I had a wonderful time. I've met someone there, a guy that I talked to for a little bit, probably 20 minutes. And he was telling me accolades of his life, what jobs he'd had, what businesses he'd owned, and kind of where he was now. And a lot of stuff. It's borderline braggadocious, but it was, he wanted to talk about his accomplishments. And fair enough, they were some pretty tall accomplishments. But after he told me everything, I said, well, let me ask you this. Going through all the jobs you've had, all the businesses you've owned, and all the pieces of your life that you did to generate income or revenue, what was most fulfilling? And he looked at me so confused. He said, probably the most fulfilling was being able to witness my 2 children being born. I said, yeah, but your jobs, of all the jobs that you had, all the things you just told me, what was the most fulfilling? He said, probably the most fulfilling was learning from a boss that I think really cared about me and being able to carry those on into my life now. Still, and if you can understand what I'm saying, still not really answering the question. So I asked him again, I said, no, what was the most fulfilling? And what I'm getting at is he told me, a stranger, we're just being introduced or just meeting each other, and he's telling me all these accomplishments that he's had through his life, and I was asking what was the most fulfilling, and there was no answer. So all of that to be said, that's what we use as our calling card, or as our explanation of ourselves, or to identify ourselves. We use our accomplishments, but how fulfilling are they? And the fulfilling things are, for me, the way, like, I have 3 boys. They're 20, 18, and 16. They're getting on in age. But what's fulfilling for me is when they hug me, they use both arms. Like, I know that, I mean, that might not sound like a lot, but they don't side hug me. And so many people, like, people side hug. I think it's such bullshit. And I'll call people out, even a stranger. If a stranger hugs me and they side hug, I'm like, oh, nope, I've hugged for real. We're going to do it right or not do it. But my boys, they hug me with both arms. And I love that. And that's fulfilling. That's one of the true gifts of life for me. The way they tell me that they love me when they run into the store. It's amazing. Those are the things that are fulfilling. And those are the things that I try to talk about. Not what I've done or what I've accomplished or what's happened to me. So, what's the actual quality of your life? Not what people see. Not what your resume says. Not what jobs you've had or where you've traveled or what accomplishments. And travel might be part of it, but it's that experience that we talk about. It's not what your Instagram looks like. What does it feel like to be you? And that's a difficult question, but I'll encourage you to think about that. What does it feel like to be you? When no one is watching, what does it feel like to be you? Now, if you think about that and you can subtract the envy or subtract the comparison, the next time you feel envy or you feel that comparison, try to acknowledge it. Just try to be conscious of it. So you think about, what does it feel like to be you? That's your quality of life minus that envy, and that's your happiness. That's how much happiness you have. That's your happiness. That's what you protect. That's what you build on. That's what you build around. That's what you continue. That's what it's about. A little bit deep, but that landed pretty hard for me when that friend sent it to me. Envy and comparison, I've struggled for a long time, and it was preventing me from growing, from getting past what I've been through. It was preventing me from healing, so to speak. I think healing is kind of an interesting word, curious word. But if you feel the same, if this landed for you, then send it on to somebody who's in the thick of it. And I mean, I was in the thick of it. Somebody who might be forgetting that their life is worth way more than just that comparison game. And if you like what you hear here, click the like button, subscribe, forward it on to somebody else. And until next time, I can't wait to see you again. I'm Jeff Luther. This is All Can, No Can't. And until next time, keep grinding it out. Find that opportunity when you think it's an obstacle. Keep moving forward. Take a step. The ground will find you. I promise. It always does. Sometimes it might find you on your face, but it's not going to let you fall forever. Thank you. Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. If today's episode resonated with you, remember, it's not about the chaos you face. It's about how you choose to take back control. It's about finding that one small can in the can't you're given and grinding it down. Find your angle, carve your place out in the world, and get the fucking win. Do that by finding what you can do and not listening to what you can't. You choose. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more people that are ready to embrace the all-can mindset. And it lets them know there's someone that's willing to walk with them no matter how dark the path gets. You can find me on Insta at JDLuther 2.0 and allcan_no-can't. This is where I share more tips, stories, inspiration to help fuel your journey. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries, breaking limits, proving to yourself that anything is possible, even when you're told it isn't. Remember, life's not about can't. It's all can. Go prove them wrong.